Hello, my name is Ananduga and it's a real pleasure for me to present the LExEI project related to Spanish teacher education for introducing additional language after school. This project is one of the foundations of the current project, LEILA project, whose main investigators are Beatriz Cortina and Fernando Trujillo, that is financed by the Ministry of Education and Science. This communication is linked to LMANET. LMANET is an international network interested in the teaching and learning of additional language after school from 0 to 7 years old. If you are interested, please visit the link. You can find very interesting information about webinars, conferences, research all over the world related to this issue. More and more voices calling for the importance of the early childhood education stage for the integral development of the individual. It was in 2009 when the European Union set the objective that by 2020 at least 90% of children between the age of 4 and the start of compulsory primary education should be enrolled in school. Alongside this boost to early childhood education, multilingualism has emerged as another milestone in the field of education, especially in the European context. So the merge of these two educational priorities has led to a growing interest in the field of very early foreign language. And there are many projects related to it, the Early Project, Bill Fund, Pepelino, etc. So being able to manage multilingual classroom as well as to encourage the introduction of additional language in preschool context is a key challenge for teachers. Despite this, domain-specific training has not been one of the main syllabus components in the pre-primary teacher, due probably to the holistic nature of the pre-primary curriculum. So therefore, as many authors confirm, there is a lack of adequately trained teachers in Europe to meet these new demands. So with this context that we are describing as the starting of learning additional language is a reality after school, which teacher should be in charge? The primary teacher, the primary teacher, or there should be a new profile, the LExEI teacher, a teacher specialized in teaching. So this is the main reflection, or the main starting point of our LExEI project. Which teacher is more qualified to teach English to pre-primary students? First of all, we would like to explain a little bit how is the Spanish system of education organized. The pre-primary stage is from 0 to 6 years old. This is composed of two cycles. From 0 to 3, that is not compulsory, and from 3 to 6, that is carried out at schools. It is important to say that foreign language is recommended to be started at the age of 3, the second cycle of pre-primary education. And which teacher is in charge of this teaching in Spain? Traditionally was the primary teacher, EFL primary teacher, especially in English but for primary education, so they don't have a specialization how to teach after school. Nowadays there's two possibilities, or the primary teacher, or we are very happy that pre-primary teacher with a V2 level, certified V2 level, according to the Common European Framework, can be responsible for the teaching, and it is more frequent and common in all Spanish region. So both profiles, the pre-primary to primary teacher, have do's and don'ts. For example, the pre-primary teacher, they are really well prepared to work with children from 3 to 6 years old, and they are able of implementing enriching and meaningful learning experience. Although they have some proficiency on the target language, normally it's not too high, and they don't have training about how to teach a foreign language at this stage. What about the primary teacher? The primary teacher is comfortable teaching the target language, but they can be overwhelmed in a class of 20 to 30 pre-primary learners. And besides, none of them, or most of them, don't have the knowledge about the very early learner, about the cognitive development, personality development, etc. So nowadays, most studies prefer the pre-primary teacher as they consider that the training is more adequate to introduce the foreign language at the early stage. So this is our main concern, and according to it, we designed the research problem based on the fact that university training the future teacher receive does not enable them to meet the current demands in terms of teaching foreign language after school, and therefore we consider a new teaching profile is needed: the LExEI teacher foreign language after school. So it is necessary to analyze the trend that higher education institutions are offering. So this project was a 3-year project whose main objective was to improve the quality of the training future teachers receive in the university degrees, introduce an additional language after school. So we designed two phases. The first one was a quantitative one with a questionnaire, and the second phase was a document analysis where we analyze all degrees from all Spanish universities. So given the complexity of the event study in this context, we opted for a mixed method research in order to put together quantitative and qualitative data and have a more complete and global vision of the topic or issue. For us, the most important was to hear to teacher voices. What do you think? What do you feel about that? The first phase, as I said before, is quantitative, and the main objective was to identify in-service teacher demands about the teaching competencies to face the early introduction of additional languages. So we designed another questionnaire with 5 dimensions: personal and professional data, perception, language requirement, psycholinguistic competencies, and specific teaching competencies. So more than 400 teachers participated in the questionnaire, mainly primary teachers. What they thought? Very briefly, we can explain what are some interesting results from the questionnaire. So nearly 78% consider there is need for an adult training for the LExEI teacher, and more than half of them consider there is a need for the creation of a new LExEI teacher. About communicative competence, 44% consider the C1 could be the recommended linguistic level in order to teach English after school. About the psycholinguistic competence, high percentage of them all agree that it is necessary to know the factor affecting the early acquisition of foreign language and to adapt the teaching learning process to those features and to those ages and interest needs. And of course, that children's emotional development is necessary to be aware of and to be taken into account. About all the teaching competencies, we include, so for example, the use of play, children folklore, the puppet. Most of them agree in the use of them. So, one of the main conclusions of the first phase, quantitative nature, was that mainly EFL teacher, primary teacher, don't feel trained enough or adequately to face the teaching of additional language after school in instruction context. They highly recommend a new teacher profile that be trained in 3 main dimensions: linguistic, psycholinguistic, and didactic. For the second phase, The first phase was focused on in-service teacher, and the second phase was focused on pre-service teacher. We wanted to know how is the future teacher trained to the introduction of foreign language after school. So we included in this second phase all Spanish universities, 76, with 125 faculty higher education center. To collect all the information, we designed an ad hoc matrix that include university, Spanish region, subject area, content, and we classify content according to linguistic, psycholinguistic, or didactic nature, credits of the subject, and if they belong to primary degrees. Some of the results generally are that in Spain there are 99 pre-primary degrees and 93 include LExEI training, a very high percentage. What happened is that in these degrees, most of the subjects, LExEI subjects, are optional, so they are not mandatory. What about primary? Only 19 degrees include LExEI trainings, a low percentage, so the primary teacher are not trained in that respect. When we analyze content, in both degrees, pre-primary and primary, they are mainly, LExEI training is mainly based on linguistic and didactic aspects. So we think this teaching need, the LExEI training, is recognized in the preschool education classroom, as in 93 of them include some type of content related to the teaching of language after school. What happens is that optionality is not so very positive, and primary teacher, they are not trained adequately in that respect, as only 18% of primary education degrees include subjects related to it. One of my conclusions is that the pre-primary teacher are better qualified than primary teacher, but the high optionality is a drawback for the good implementation of this learning. So there are some possibilities. That one of them will be to create a compulsory specialization in pre-primary education degrees in order to be a foreign language pre-primary teacher, or a transitional measure could be that include some specific training in the primary degrees. So from this analysis, one of the main conclusions is that something should be done in this respect, and that our main conclusions founding can be extrapolated to other countries, other European countries mainly, where English is learned as a foreign language. Maybe it could be a good idea to replicate this study in other countries to see and compare the main results, in order to have a more global vision of the training situation, the person responsible for teaching English after school. So we really think, we are convinced that there is a need to create a new teacher profile for teaching foreign language at pre-primary education. And with a new point of view, different training paradigm that focus on the very young child. So it is necessary to support and enhance the learning foreign language and respond to the need of this stage and answer the children needs, limitation and interest. So who is in charge? We consider the pre-primary teacher. We are very happy to receive any comment on this question on this respect. Thank you very much.